All right. So another interesting concept is obviously anxiety and panic in general, but like even within a Christian context is can even be more difficult. So like what do you think specifically about like Christianity anxiety and stuff like that? Are you thinking of it in the sense of like anxiety from like belief in something, or are you thinking anxiety in just like a generalized sense?
Well, I don't think there's a difference. All
Okay.
Christians are human beings. God created us. We're all there. Like, um, I will tell you my anxiety lately.
Yeah.
I was in a head-on collision with my wife 2 months ago.
Yeah.
I've always been a strong person. I've never been afraid of anything in my life.
Right. Right.
But when I get into that car and sit in the
Oh
passenger
yeah.
seat, my anxiety goes up. And I'm talking about
Yep.
uncontrollable. My heart pumps. I'm looking for every danger in the
Yep.
area. Um, I have a baby, so like my hand is on him, and I'm just waiting for something always bad to happen.
Right.
And it's hard. It's not conscionable. Like I cannot like logically subdue
Mm.
it because I've been in one car accident versus a million car rides. Like
Right.
it
Right. 100%.
does not work.
Dang it.
And that's just like a new form of anxiety. Yeah, actually, I've had
For
anxiety
sure.
my whole life.
Right.
Uh, don't take medication for it. Don't
Right.
necessarily believe in it for me because I don't think my body works that way. Neither does my soul.
Right. Right.
I'm never going to tell anybody never take medication that would help
Yeah.
them. That's not
Oh,
my
for
job.
sure.
I don't know you. I don't know your body chemistry.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
But I can
Everybody's
tell you what I
different.
went
Yep.
through.
Yep.
Um, my anxiety leads me to have conversations in my head and arguments in my head to prepare for anything. It's
Right. Right.
exhausting. Exhausting. Uh,
Oh yeah. Anxiety's insane. Yep.
uh,
It's depressing. It's another word I use for it is rumination. A lot of times it's just, ruminating is the idea of a cow chewing on his curds just over and over and over again. And that's what it
I'll
is
be
with
honest.
anxiety. Is we
To be
just
honest
chew
with
on
you,
our
I've had
thoughts.
doctors tell me to take medications. I've had pastors tell me to pray. None have worked.
Hmm.
None have worked.
So
Um,
I'm glad you went into this because let me give you, now I have yet to go over this on my channel. Uh, on my channel, I have never given a what we call a personal testimony. Because my channel is based off of apologetics, so I normally do not go super deep into personal testimonies because I think it's not really a part of apologetic scheme. Now it can help in cases, for sure, for people looking, and a lot of people like these stories, but I just personally haven't done it yet. Now I'll briefly go over mine. I'm not going to go over all this context so I can keep the video short, but basically I developed severe hypochondria, which then led into severe depression. And in doing so, I like how you described it just a minute ago. People have told you to do medicine, told you to pray about it, and all of these concepts, and it's like nothing's helping. Um, you're praying to God and God's not answering you, and it's just like, what the heck, why is God not answering me? There's a terrific book by C.S. Lewis called A Grief Observed. Slightly different context of the book, but the whole overall context of the book is um, grieving and suffering, and how this applies with God. Interestingly, though, this happened to me for like almost 2 years straight. I had like consistently bad days every single day for like 2 years straight, and um, when it happened, I eventually got with a psychiatrist. Anxiety specialist would be a better word to use. Somebody to go through this. Because you mentioned how you were afraid to get in the car and whatnot. Um,
yeah,
and,
100%.
and that's kind of how some of it can start. it can start with something of that nature, and then it can just continue on. Mine was actually, so mine started with hypochondriac type stuff. So like it was like a hard heartbeat would scare me, and a fast heartbeat would scare me. Any of these concepts would just, if it happened and I felt it, I'm in panic, you know, and it would be constant. It would also lead to where like I would get dizzy because I'm in fight flight, you know, and when you're in that fight flight response, that's all you're in a survival mode at that point. You know, you're in the same state that like other human ancestors would be when they're being chased by a tiger. You know what I mean? So like that's the analogy you can give. And one thing that I realized with any type of hypochondria, how do you get rid of panic? And now, obviously, I believe God can do anything and He can answer any prayer. But I also believe God lets us suffer through specific things to, you know, whether it be to gain some type of virtue or some kind of characteristic, and maybe to help us to rely on Him. Whatever the case may be, it would differ between every individual. So we go through these things for a reason. And interestingly, when I went through it, this is what led me to God, because it made me to rely on God. Now, when this happened, though, once I learned about anxiety through, you know, scientific resources, I was astonished about how easy it actually is to get rid of it. So, and you mentioned earlier the medicine and all of that. I will say, in a lot of cases, you know, and this will all depend on the type of anxiety we're talking of. If we're talking about hypochondria, and that's what I'm
please
specifically
share
going on.
because most people
Absolutely.
don't get rid of anxiety without medication.
100%, and that's where like I want people to realize I tried medication and it did not work for me. I lied to my doctor and I basically said, "Oh yeah, it's helping," but it wasn't, and I didn't want to get into this infinite loop of like, "Oh, now I'm taking all of these drugs."
I'm gonna use a saying that I heard one day. It's called
Yeah.
Xanax for panics and Zoloft to doze off. Like that's your options.
For sure, and see that is that's a good one to say because it's real, and doctors are just like, "Oh, you're feeling type of way, here you go," and it's just like we have so much science to confirm how to get rid of panic and anxiety, and it's actually so simple. And I want anybody to watch this, or you specifically too. And this is such an important topic to me, and I've been pondering on doing a video about this for a while. So the easiest way to go about it is this. So I mentioned the example of my hard heartbeat, my fast heartbeat, and I would have this, and it was horrible, horrible experiences. But then, like I said, the dizziness and all of these other chest pain, like you can think of it, the whole nine. I would have all of these symptoms, right? And I found scientifically the only way to get rid of panic was, instead of going about panic in the way of like, you know, instead of avoiding it, so like here's what I would do. I would get these symptoms in specific locations and areas. And like you mentioned in the car, every time you get in the car, the one way it's worded is that instead of avoiding these things, and like even you can even sometimes like partially avoid. So like every time you get in the car, for your example, if we use that, maybe you clinch on to something specific. Because you're trying to hold on to something for support. You're trying to, you know, you're trying to clap the panic tigers away is what it's worded as. And in doing so, you're letting your mind know that there's really a threat. So like you secure this thought in your mind that there's something wrong, I'm in danger, so I'm going to do something to try to help protect myself. And the analogy works like this because what the saying goes is that like there's a man in the middle of New York and he claps every 5 seconds. And someone walks up to him and they say, "Sir, why are you clapping every 5 seconds?" And he says, "Oh, I clap every 5 seconds to keep the tigers away." And then the person says, "Well, sir, you're in New York. There's no tigers here." And then the man replies, "Exactly." So you can see to where his mind has let him know the only reason that there aren't tigers here is because he's clapping. And that's what we do with anxiety. We say, well, I'm going to clap my way out of this in a sense. Now, and it depends on whatever it may be for you individually. So the only way to get out of it is to voluntarily chase after your fears. So for me, my examples were chest pain, um, dizziness, and a hard and fast heartbeat. Those were some of my symptoms. So for me, I had to physically and voluntarily go after those symptoms. So like I was scared if I got dizzy, I would get more dizzy because it did my fight flight, and then
So it's the phobia, anti-phobia. If you're afraid of this, do that.
exactly. It's kind of like the same concept of like if you're scared of heights, then go to the heights. Go to the highest place you can do. If your anxiety has to do with hyperventilation, hyperventilate on purpose.
So, you know,
Do it.
I was initially going to disagree with you on this, but one thing that's helped me is getting in the car every day, and things are getting a little bit easier every day.
Yep, yep,
Um,
yep. And see, one
and,
way that you can go about it too is instead of just doing it like on the times where you have to, but do it when you don't have to also, to really let your brain know that like, hey, there really is no danger here. There's nothing here. And this
yeah,
is science, like, this is the way you if anybody's having any of these kinds of symptoms that we've talked about, you do this for a week and they're gone. If you do it consistently, you know what I mean.
yeah, I get you, but that's a simple way to look at anxiety because a lot of people that suffer from anxiety don't know the root, don't know what it's coming from. It's just there.
Oh, for sure. No doubt
And there's
about it.
different, and that would definitely help for somebody that has a root cause of an anxiety, but that is the thing that wrecks people, wrecks anxiety. People, people are anxiety itself. Like that's I think the most shared anxiety is the fear of people.
Right.
Um, but I will
Yeah,
tell you that God is greater.
oh, for
Uh,
sure. So, and that doesn't mean that God can't answer these types of prayers and that God won't for specific people and individuals. But the whole idea is because it's due to your mind. It's our mind that's playing tricks on us. Our brain is in this fight flight fear response. You know, we when we have these fear responses, we're in this stage to where this is how our brain reacts. This is the evolutionary process in which people describe. And
right.
this is like when describing all of these types of concepts. Now, this is why I always say it depends on the type of anxiety the person has. But if you have hypochondria, this is the fastest and best solution to getting rid of anxiety because it's the most proven way. Now, this is one simple concept. Now, if you were to look into other people, so who I'm using for this is a guy by the name of Michael Norman. Um, and he's where I'm getting all of these concepts from. And I can link him also in the description below for anybody dealing with this, to see these supports. Because it sounds crazy on one hand to where, like, let's say if you're someone who struggles with hyperventilation, and like, you're listening to me and you're like, the only way to get rid of hyperventilation is to hyperventilate on purpose. That's stupid. I'm logging off of this, right? And it sounds stupid. It sounds crazy. The first time I heard it, I
Yeah,
was just like, yeah,
sounds like
I'm
a
not.
lawsuit to me.
Right, right. And like, it's insane, but like, it is, it is scientifically proven that this is the way to go about it. And I cannot even, I can't express how much it truly does help in such a fast time too. Like, it's quickly if everything is done right. Oh man. I
um,
was already getting shot from the
so
sides too.
my personal opinion on this subject is, if you
Yeah.
know what your base anxiety is, you know what causes you anxiety. Take, um, I would say, not privilege. What's the word? Take confidence in it. Don't let the devil get in that ground. Say, you know what? I know I'm afraid of this, and I'm gonna give it to God,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna be okay. Actually, get yourself some pride. That's the
Right,
biggest
right.
thing that I think a lot of people lack nowadays is pride because they were taught it was so easy. No, you know what? My name is your last name, and you know what?
Yeah.
I'm gonna conquer this fear.
Right,
In the
right.
name of Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and see that's a similar concept to what I'm describing. You could go about it in that type of way too. Um, but you're still going over the same tactic, just in a slightly different maneuver, you know, because instead of doing it like I'm just gonna, because it's the same idea, you know,
Yeah.
I'm gonna, instead of being afraid of it, I'm gonna go after it. I'm gonna chase after this. This is what he calls chasing the ghosts,
Yeah.
and
Pl-
it's
Plant,
that.
plant your flag of faith that
Yep, yep,
God is gonna do good by you.
absolutely.
God said, faith is like a mustard seed. You see all those gorgeous plants out there? Yeah, they had faith because God, no matter what, take care of them. He'll take care of you. You just gotta give over your life.
Uh huh. 100%. Let's go.
Anxiety is a hard thing, and I'm not
It is.
anti-medication to a point. I'm anti-opiate. I'll tell you that this day. That's
Right.
never gonna leave your life any good.
Yeah.
And I've had psychiatrists prescribe it to me and then start my addiction. Oh,
Right.
you're just depressed because you're in pain. Here, take this. Yeah, my drug
Right.
dealer was a doctor. I will always tell you that. Be careful. Don't always believe
Right.
people with PhDs.
Right. Right. Yeah. So like the medicine idea. Let me go to that real quick too, because that's a good concept. I'll go over a simpler one too, because that the one I've mentioned so far is a harder one. Um, but the medicine, it's not that it can't help in some cases, because for sure some people can, you know, that's how it is. And it, like the ones I'm specifically talking about is hypochondria, not always just generalized anxiety. But a lot of it can work in the same way. So I'll describe it like this: the reason why medicine doesn't always work is because what you're doing is, like, let's say you get a panic attack always in the same area or location. And then what happens is you tell your doctor, you tell whoever is going to be giving you any type of medicine, you tell them this, and this is exactly what's happening and what's going on, and they're going to say, here, take this, and every time you're in this spot, and you actually feel that you're about to have this panic attack, take prescription X. And that's what you do. So every time you get there, you take prescription X. And this is what I mean to where I described the panic tigers a minute ago. And this is exactly what this is a pure definition of it. So like, I'm in this, and I'm going to clap the tigers away. So the only reason I can get the tigers to go away is if I take the medicine. When you can get rid of the tigers just by chasing them away. You know, and that's how the analogy works. So
Yeah, I'm glad that works for you. That doesn't work for a lot of people, and that didn't work for me. As I said, like, I gave you the car accident as, like, a new one, but I have anxiety.
yeah, and I mean this just from a hypochondriac standpoint. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
So
100%.
like, if it's not applied to like hypochondria, then this breaks down specifically, and there's different tactics and routes that you could take. And this is why, to see the full extent of what I'm talking about, this is just one section of what Michael Norman goes into.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
to see his entire literature, I would highly recommend it. But um, the whole aspect is like, this is a way to where, like, if someone is afraid of heights, the only way to get not afraid of heights is not with medicine, but by going to heights. You know what I mean?
yeah, no, I get it. I really do. And you're coming from a very personal place, and I really appreciate that. That's very brave.
Yeah.
I know you don't share a lot about your personal life, but the next message I want to send out is to men.
Right, right.
If you suffer from anxiety, you're not a coward. Don't think like that. I thought like that. Oh my God.
Oh yeah,
That's the
for sure.
first thing I've ever said is like, hey, you know what? I'm not a coward, but I have a hard time getting a car. And my doctor's like, why did you put it that way? Because
Yeah.
that's the way I was raised. Like, I'm there for my family. Oh, you try to touch my family, I will freaking run through 5 guys. I don't care. I'm not afraid of it.
Right.
But get me in the backseat of that car. I was
Right.
afraid.
100%.
I'm not a coward. I really am not.
No doubt.
Like don't think like that.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to feel like that when bad
100%.
things happen.
Fear is a normal response to the human psyche. Absolutely. No doubt about it. But yeah, that'd be the biggest thing. Now this is
personally for me. I'm having a little bit issue with it. Like
100%.
Yeah. Don't ever feel like you're a coward for being afraid.
Yep.
Feel like a coward if you can't do the things you need to do for your own family.
Yep, for sure. Absolutely.